You're listening to the HighUpside Show, a podcast that allows people like you and me to invest our money in a more entertaining way. My name is Keenan Rivals. I'm a photographer by the day, but I make most of my money by flipping cards. In this show, I'll be sitting down with you and sharing my best practices. You'll learn my process, the lessons I've learned, and more importantly, who you should be buying. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the HighUpside Show. It's your host, Keenan Rivals. A little bummed out today because I thought that I was going to be doing this podcast on my new elaborate setup. I went out and bought a top of the line everything to really take this show to the next level, and I was really excited about it. I was planning how I was going to do it and getting soundboards and really just trying to up the quality. And I just recently found out that it's on back order, and it's just frustrating because you can't buy anything right now. Everything's out of stock, everything's sold out, and I just think we really took for granted how available things were. And it's no different in the sports cards market. If you guys have noticed, it's just hard to buy certain things. I was buying some top loaders the other day and couldn't believe the price points compared to how they used to be. And I couldn't help but think that you guys are probably going through the same thing. You're probably experiencing that as well. So I went ahead and partnered up with the guys at Black Label Slabs, and they're going to really help out with this. With the sports cards market booming, it's just hard to find wax, supplies, card savers, especially at a decent price point. So yeah, the guys at blacklabelslabs.com, they're going to hook up the HighUpside Show audience with a 10% off coupon. All you have to do is use the code HighUpside during checkout. And if you're part of the premium membership, you're used to these kind of perks, you're used to these discounts. But Black Label Slabs, they're going to offer this to everybody. So no membership required. If you want to grab some accessories and you want to grab them at a decent price, then definitely check the guys out. Now, speaking of limited supply, that's really going to be the theme of today's episode. A lot of you guys have reached out to me over the last week and have kind of been giving me some negative feedback on, kind of investing in LeBron James. A lot of you are like, hey, man, I thought you were different. I listened to your podcast because you had different picks and now you're just buying LeBron. And I get it to a certain extent. LeBron's a blue chip stock. He's the obvious choice, Why am I paying money to be told to invest in LeBron or whatever the theory is? But I think you guys are not really paying attention to what's going on. We look at this world and we're just so used to going to the store and buying things. We're so used to picking things up from Amazon at our leisure. We're just so used to convenience. And I think we just assume that everything's in stock and everything's just being mass produced and everything's just readily available. And this year has shown me that that's just not true. It's not even the pandemic. The fact that I can't go to Walmart or Target and buy a pack of basketball cards, it just shows me that things are about to change. The things that we collect, the things that we do, the things that we find that are interesting and that are niche are just no longer niche. People say that sports cards are the next shoe market, and they weren't wrong. It's the shoe market 2.0. And when I look at the numbers, I just can't help but think how rare all these LeBron James cards are. They're so rare compared to what we see today. We look at Luka's Prism and his 10,000 cards, and everybody's freaking out about those being graded. And that's just not a lot of cards. I've said this so many times. It's just not a lot. I understand it's alarming compared to the other cards, but what we need to understand is that Luka isn't overpriced. Everybody else is just underpriced. Everybody from the previous generation is extremely underpriced right now. 2012, Panini cards, 2003 Topps Chrome, those things were not mass produced. They weren't produced with the idea that the hobby would be this big. We can even go as far as saying the same thing about 2018-19 Optic. Yes, it's part of the higher production generation, but Panini wasn't banking on Optic being some big thing. Optic hasn't been a big thing. They put out what they thought would sell. And yeah, I know I'm kind of ranting right now, but everything's super underrated, guys. This market is not a bubble. It's just starting to realize its actual potential. When it comes to LeBron's, 2018-19 Optic, I think people kind of forgot that he's the reason why Optic even, did what it did. It wasn't Luka, it wasn't Trae Young, it wasn't any of that. It was the fact that LeBron James had a Chrome Laker card and it resembled his rookie. And LeBron James fans are just different, guys. They are trying to get the cards that they want to get. So when that Optic Holo was out, and it was just becoming so scarce and people were bidding it up, it started to go for like $800. That was the first price of the optic hollow of LeBron. It was $800. And quickly afterwards, we started to realize that there were value in the other cards. And if you look at it now, LeBron's optic hollow is still doing really well, but Luka has kind of taken over the top dog position of that set. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that much like 2012 Prism, I think that over time, LeBron's going to become a staple within optic. That card is going to become a must-have for any LeBron collector. And the price of that card is just going to go up and up and up. And if you look at the pop report, you'll quickly realize how limited it actually is. In fact, I kind of already looked at it for you. I mean, when you look at the pop report of, LeBron's hollow, you see just how scarce it is and how condition sensitive it is. I mean, there's 386 cards submitted, only 108 of them gemmed. 251 were PSA 9 and 24 were PSA 8. It's going to be a hard card to find. If you're a LeBron collector, that means only 108 people are able to own this card. That's like a National Treasures rookie auto patch, or an immaculate rookie patch auto. Like, that's extremely limited. And that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, this card is going to go down in history, especially if LeBron James wins a championship or an MVP or just does anything significant for Los Angeles. And the fact that people are ignoring it because he's LeBron is just extremely insane to me. Yes, it's fun to invest in cheap players and project prospects, but ideally we're all hoping they become a LeBron. So when you have an opportunity to buy a card of this magnitude and of this scarcity, then it's highly recommended that you jump on it. If you take a look at his optic base, you'll kind of see the same thing. I mean, 507 cards were submitted, 296 gemmed, and 202 were PSA 9. Again, really, really, really low odds to get a PSA 10 with 2018-19 optic. The centering was bad. There was some surface damage on the cards. A lot of people didn't take care of them early on because they were quote unquote not, Prism. So yeah, this card just has the recipe for success. It's been out for over a year now, going on 2. There's not going to be that many more submitted. And if they are, it's looking like most of them are going to get a PSA 9. So yeah, right now you can pick up a LeBron James PSA 10 optic for about $350. And to some of you, that seems really expensive, but I don't think it is. I've actually broke down the math. And if you look at LeBron's 2012 Prism, which is his first Chrome card in a Heat jersey, you'll see that it has a market cap of $181,000, which means it is about $1,400 per card. Has a pop report of 126, so a lot lower than the optic, but still not bad. So if you take that same math and you just assume that LeBron's optic is going to have a similar market cap, you would essentially take that $181,000 and divide it by 296, putting that card at $611. So if you buy this card, there's a strong chance that, you can double your money. And that's not even including any, future success of LeBron or any future, upwards movement of the market cap. I don't see LeBron's Prism stopping at $181,000. I see that becoming $1 million market cap card, which for those of you who are wondering would put it at about $7,936. Sounds absurd, but again, this market is extremely underrated. I mean, we're talking about a card that's limited to 126. We're talking about, LeBron's optic, which is limited to 296. That's just not a lot of opportunity there. That's going to be a lot of people bidding for the same card, thus just pushing the price up. And I get it. Again, a lot of you probably just don't see that happening. But when I told people to buy the card at $177, they didn't see it hitting $350. We have to understand that the market is still undervalued. There's a lot of gaps here. There's a lot of cards that need to move up. These cards are rare. They're not just pieces of cardboard. They're extremely limited. And we're talking about one of the biggest athletes in the world. I also hear some of you like, oh, well, Jordan cards aren't that high, or, this person cards aren't that high. And the market has not caught up to those cards yet. People are just now starting to get in this market, and they're just now starting to educate themselves. As the years goes on, these are probably going to turn into some really awesome investments. I'm going back and I'm looking at older Michael Jordan Topps Chrome cards because I think those are also undervalued. I just think that when it comes to the greats, the collector mindset kicks in and people are going to want those cards. And because the pop reports are so low, there's just going to be a bidding war for them, guys. I mean, people are going to have to pay for them because they're going to get locked up in votes. They're going to get locked up into collections. And much like the 2012 Prism, you just may never see that card again. Like you can't even track a 2012 Prism Silver PSA 10 because there's 15 of them and they're probably just gone. They're probably not going to see the light of day. So yeah, I say all this to say that we live in a world where everything's available. We think 10,000 Lukas is available, and it's not. It's not if somebody decides to lock up 5,000 of them. It's not if 3,000 of them are locked up. They're just not available as we think they are. Right now, when it comes to LeBron James's PSA 10, there's 300 of them, essentially 296. I have 5 of them. Somebody else might have 10. Another guy might have 15. I mean, that's 30 already accounted for. That's 10% already accounted for. And it's like, if we decide not to move those, that's 10% off the market. Let's say you go buy 10 of them. It just keeps going, and eventually only 300 people can have that card. And in a world where we're all into sports, it's one of the biggest things. Like, think about how bad you're itching to watch sports right now. Like, you're going to want LeBron James's Laker card if you're a collector of his. You're going to want that card if he wins the championship. If you're a collector of Michael Jordan, you're going to go back and want to get that Topps Chrome card. And it's available right now because everyone's selling. Everyone's like, man, I bought this card for $50 and now it's going for $400. I'm going to move it. But when somebody buys them all for $400, they're not going to be as quick to move it. They're going to be like, hey, I got $400 invested in this. That's how cards go up. Somebody buys it for 30 and then they sell it for 80. And then when they sell it for 80, everybody sells for 80 because they're like, oh man, I just made 2.5 my money back. I'm selling this. And then eventually people buy them at 80, and then you can't get them at $80 anymore. And then the person who bought it for 80, he sells it for 160. And then everybody's like, oh, I doubled my money, I'm selling for 160. And then once that supply dries up, the price goes up. So that's going to keep happening, guys. You look at Luka and he's able to hit $1,000 because people are buying his cards for $800, and they're holding them. They're not selling them under that. And that's just the beauty of sports cards, is that we're still collectors to a certain extent. Like, we're not going to sell under that. Like, no one's panic selling right now. And I don't think anybody will be unless something detrimental happens to Luka. This isn't the stock market. Like, we get a tangible item and we have an emotional attachment to it. I hope you guys understand why I'm buying LeBron. I felt like I wanted to put this out because you'd be surprised about how many of you didn't like that pick. Yeah, even people in my group were kind of like, I'm not really feeling this one. And, I'm sure they're kind of regretting now. You would have been able to get it for $175 had you have been a part of the group. And now you just really can't find the card. And if you do, people are asking top dollar for it. And in my opinion, it's just going to keep going up because LeBron has to catch up to everybody else. LeBron hasn't really moved like everybody else has. They've tripled, quadrupled, in price, and LeBron kind of is like up 50%. And it's just a matter of time before a lot of the money goes back into him, especially with the restart happening, especially with the playoffs going on, and especially with the Lakers being the favorite. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Be sure to check out the membership group. You get access to my portfolio, which I'll be updating August 1st. And you'll be a part of a future giveaway that I'm going to announce. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway. It's only going to be available to the premium members. So be sure to check all the links in the show notes. Definitely sign up for that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know it was kind of ranty, but I have to respond to the haters, man. Sometimes you just have to. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Happy investing.